It's winning over the leadership team with this. I think there's a lot of ways to arrive at this conclusion and to learn these skills, to realize when you're the one who is, who is not flexible, when you're the one who is creating, the psychologically unsafe space. It takes some self-reflection, and I think there's a lot of resources. And you look at a lot of the projects we work on, a lot of them will start with learner training, how to do this, how to do that. And then half of what we do, or more, like 60%, will end up being that manager side of training. And there's so many different resources and strategies. And the direction seems to be, in this direction is when you're a leader, when you're a manager, you're not just there to tell people what to do because you're the smartest. There's not really a lesson to be learned there. There's a lot of resources. And that's what we see with manager training. It goes from how to do this, how to do that, and it becomes more, well, let's share the discussion. Let's share, where we're at with the culture in our company, the books that have made an impact on us, the speakers that have made an impact on us. And there really isn't, an A to Z kind of, this is what you have to learn. It becomes an ongoing, sharing that knowledge, sharing the latest thing that could benefit your company, could make you help you do your job better, things like that. So I think that's one piece of it. That's the manager side of things. I think there's always more resources coming out. There's always, you have to create that sort of, that sort of culture, that pool of knowledge, and you want to convince your managers that this is the way to go, and help them along with that. And I think there's so many resources out there. We've just seen so many different companies approach this in a lot of different ways, right? So I think that's one piece where it's like, okay, training is part of this thing. And it's sort of training specifically for your leadership team, how to be leaders, how to create a psychological safe, environment. I think another piece of this is going to be on the learner side, or the team member or your staff member. I think on that side, let's say you have a management team who is applying these concepts, who are trying to do this. If they're taking the right steps, it definitely sounds like something that you can do. But I feel like, when you look at the thing as a whole, I think part of the reason why training becomes such a big part of this is because, in order for managers to feel like their staff members are able to contribute, are able to innovate and take care of themselves and not have to be babysat. I think that the staff members themselves, you have to have this feeling that they're capable, they're competent, they understand their job at a foundational level. They know what they're doing.
Trust.
And I feel like that's another piece, that attitude. And again, the attitude has to change in leadership, and then then it propagates down into the whole company. And I think that's another difference in terms of, for the leadership team, when you're looking at training, you have to look at it a little bit beyond steps 1 to 10. Here's how you do this job. Do it forever. I think there has to be a why do we do step 7? What is the logic behind this thing? Why do we, why did we design the steps as they are? And slowly bring these newbies into, okay, I can do steps 1 through 10 really, really well. But
Yeah.
why do we do, 4 before 5 when it'd be way faster to do this other way? And I feel
Yeah.
like the training and bringing people on board is not like a chore that's sort of like, we have to do this so that this guy can repeat this job forever like a robot. You're trying to go beyond that. You're trying to turn every single, staff member into a person with agency who can look at the way things are done, do it for a while, understand it, be able to excel in it, but then also give feedback and say where, you might do things differently. And so I feel like that's another piece where, there needs to be this sort of training, mentorship, something where you're working in the field with real people, you're being observed, you're getting feedback constantly until you really get it. And then to me, it's like when you do that piece, the leadership and management, I feel like, what's their fear sometimes is that, well, I do know better. Look at these look at these guys. They're like, they clearly couldn't survive without me. Well, if you created that situation. If you create that situation, you definitely want to get out of it. You want to be in a situation where you can trust that not everything's going to work 100% of the time, but you want a situation where, as people work with you, as people work as part of your team, they become more independent, they can take on more responsibilities, and they might also, have more to share. And I feel like part of that as well is using the tools. I feel like if you as a manager brought on board somebody, you gave them 2 hours of, crash course on how to do this thing, and you walked away, and then 3 months later, this person has an idea, you might not listen to it as much than if you've had a consistent plan which gave them the how-to, but also kept on developing their skills. And sort of that idea of continuous learning, I think it really goes hand in hand with psychological safety. I wouldn't blame somebody in leadership who is hesitant to listen if you didn't, at an organizational level, have a plan to develop each one of the members.